This month of August, we have been weaving, the whole theme has been weaving a spiritual tapestry. And so that's what we have been doing. And we're going to bring it for one more week into September before we start a new theme. But today, we're going to find out how we hit the bullseye and what that really means. I once heard of a church, and this is really true, I read it somewhere, where the preacher stands up to preach and they lock the doors. No one gets out. The ushers stand guard. Perhaps we should do that this morning, because we're going to talk about something that we rarely talk about. It begins with S, and it's 3 letters. And we don't want anybody running out the door as we start talking about this. And the word is sin, no matter what you were thinking. So we're going to talk about sin from a new thought, religious science perspective. And you all know what that means. And here are the words straight from Ernest Holmes' glossary in the back of Science of Mind, describing what he thought sin was, which I agree with so deeply, and I hope a lot of you do. So he said, "We have tried to show that there is no sin but a mistake, and no punishment but a consequence, the law of cause and effect. Sin is merely missing the mark. God does not punish sin. As we correct our mistakes, we forgive our own sins." So it's erroneous thinking, mistaken thinking. And we're going to find out why that really was talked about in a lot of religions, that we're all sinners, and how that keeps us in a very low vibration, how that just takes away our empowerment. And religious science, New Thought, is all about empowerment, about standing in the truth of who we are, God beings. Sin is merely missing the mark. Taking the original meaning of that word from the sport of archery. To sin literally means to miss the bullseye. So this morning we're going to explore how we can avoid sinning, how we can avoid missing the mark, but rather we're going to focus on hitting the bullseye, because that's what we want to do. The other day I was listening to a radio station and a song came on entitled "Heaven's One Sin Away." And I chuckled after that I heard that song, because that title is actually just so true. Heaven is one thought away. One thought away. Heaven is right here, right now, when we choose what we are thinking. It's experiencing heaven right here and now is just one thought away. The thought that we are separate in nature. Get the acronym? Separate in nature from God. S-I-N. That separation is what we do not believe in, and that is basically, Course in Miracles states this is only one thing to heal, and that's the thought that we're separate from the infinite, we're separate from God, because we are not. We are all one, and that's what we teach. That's our teachings. That's what we all use and think and believe here. And when we believe that we are separate in nature from God, we miss the mark. We don't hit the bullseye. We believe in separation. If we're still thinking that God is out there and I'm here, that's separation. When we realize, wait a minute, it's all within me. It's all within me and my thinking and my words, my actions. It's all within me. That's when we start to take aim. All the mystics have known, and they've all known, that there is only one presence, there is only one. the unification of all life is only one. Jesus said it. He who hath seen me hath seen the Father. Jesus was really a New Thought teacher, a master teacher. The Bhagavad Gita, the ancient Hindu scripture, says, God is but an embryo within us. Its only desire is to be born. Ernest Holmes, this is his description of oneness. When we know our oneness with God and law, what a great burden is removed. And I absolutely believe that. What a great burden is removed when we realize that we are one with the presence of all good. That is the truth, the real truth, with a capital T. Back to Holmes. If we think of ourselves as being separate from the universe, we shall be limited by thought, for it is a belief in separation from God which binds and limits. We are bound by nothing else. We are bound by nothing except belief. So always, what are we thinking? What are we choosing to think? All of our challenges, all of our strife, all of our woes, all of our problems, all of our worries, our uncertainty, really stem from one thing. Our belief that we are separate in nature, sin, from God and God's law, the spiritual law. And we are bound by nothing except our belief. Isn't that powerful? I think it's really powerful. What we believe is limiting us because we believe it. We take away that belief or shift it, change it, and that's what we do in our classes. Then we just get in alignment and let that flow of universal good move us in the direction. That's why Sarah's in California. She allowed. Didn't make any sense. It don't have to make sense to our human limited minds. But when the infinite gives a message and we listen, all good is added unto it. Always, in all ways. Sin is missing the mark. So what is the mark of, or the bullseye? What is it? We get to choose. Missing the mark or hitting the bullseye. The mark consists of God-given gifts, dreams, desires that are planted in our hearts. They're there already. That means living from our authentic selves. When we don't live from who we really are, our authentic selves, we sin and separate in nature. We are divided from that which always provides the great comfort and fulfillment. If we have a mark, which is a goal or a dream, or an inspiration or a vision, then not trying for it or giving up on it, giving up our dream is a sin. We are not following our authentic self, which is filled with these gifts. Sin is not making the mistakes on the way there. Sin is not even trying to point to the direction of the mark. Jesus said, this you can do and more. So the mark has been set. It's already there. Yet we shrink and think only Jesus and the saints or the blessed and chosen people can create miracles. We create miracles every day. I love that word, miracles. I use it a lot. Because sometimes, a lot of times, I can't think of the solution. I don't know the answer to that. But I know that there's a miracle occurring that brings that clarity, that divine inspiration to and through me to make the correct decision. And by shifting that belief into the limited, I don't know what to do here, it opens up so many opportunities. And we know we're energy beings, so our vibration matches that and draws to us what we believe. So in the vibratory scale, we can only attract what we vibrate at. Are we vibrating at fear, or are we vibrating at the level of love? When we move out of the belief of being separate in nature from God, from good. There is nothing to fear. There is no confusion. Does God worry about the future? Does God ruminate over a decision? Of course not. Why should it? Why should it? It knows it is done. It is done through the Lord. That's the action of the divine. Why do you worry, little flock? It is God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Do you know, really know, each one of us, do we know who we really are? The power that is within each and every one of us, all of the time, guiding us, loving us. We talked about it last week, and it's a song by Karen Drucker. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. You are the hands and you are the heart. You are the voice of spirit on earth. And she writes to continue that. And all that you do and all that you are is a blessing to the world. This world needs so many light bearers who bless it with their presence, who bring the light. There's so much darkness that's always been going on, but we're very aware of it because of social media. We're very aware of it. And it's like, what can I do? I can go within myself and just be the light of God, and just hold that light. Because that vibration does resonate out into the world. It ripples. It does. It absolutely does. So it's time to move out of that belief in separation. That is the biggest thing we have to heal. Course in Miracles says, if you knew who walked beside you, you would have nothing to fear. So good. If we could get to the point of absolute belief in that statement, life would be so much easier, more peaceful, more fulfilling. You want to hit the bullseye? If you really do, then remember who you are. Tap into the authentic self, your innate dreams, your desires, your passions, your gifts. Only you have them. Only you, each one individualized, has their own gifts, their own desires, their own visions. Here's a wonderful affirmation that if you're worried about the future, which some people worry about the future, for when you're fretting over a decision, or you're afraid to let your light shine. This is from the Course in Miracles also. I am the light of the world. This is my only function. That is why I am here. That's been made very clear to me, and I know it has to a lot of us who have been meditating and doing this spiritual work for so long. That is our main purpose at this time, on this place, is to be the light of the divine, to shine our light, because we have power in that, to be the light. That moves us then into the manifesting through the ignorance of the law. And remember Ernest Holmes' quote a moment ago, when we know our oneness with God and law, what a great burden is removed. I of myself can do nothing, it is the Father within that doeth the work. We sin, we miss the mark when we ignore the law that we are also one with. We're one with this immutable law. It never fails. It is always acting, whether we know it or not. Ignorance of man. Now, we've got three different kinds of laws, and I just want to break them real quickly down. You have man-made laws. That's not what I'm talking about. When I first got into religious science, I was like, the law? What are they talking about? I was just relating to the human law. It took me a while to understand that there are three different kinds of laws. And we're talking here about spiritual law. But here's the ignorance of man-made laws, though, does not exempt us from the consequences of breaking them. If we don't know the speed limit and we're zooming through a neighborhood and we get pulled over and we get a ticket, ignorance of that law does not exempt us from that ticket. Maybe a nice smile or, connection. Some people look like they get away with breaking the law, don't they? They really look like they're getting away with breaking that law. But you know what? Calm is a thing. It's a real thing. And in Ernest Holmes' definition of calm, it's a cause of law and effect. So there will be effects in people's lives. They might not be going to jail. I don't want to get up on this too long. But, because I feel good. It's not my business, right? My business is myself. Taking care, cleaning myself, cleaning my side of the street, keeping that in order. Okay. Ignorance of physical laws, okay? It does not exempt us, it's the same. Even if we never heard of gravity, if we throw a ball up in the air, it's gonna fall down, it's gonna come down. We don't have to know why. We don't have to know why, it just is. And it's going to work whether we're ignorant of it or not. There are certain, now we go back to this. Yeah. So you got the man-made laws, the physical laws. Electricity is a physical law. I don't know how it works, but I expect when I turn on a light switch that the lights come on. It's a physical law that has been harvested. It's always been there. Only when we know how to use it can it be effective. And it's the same thing with spiritual laws. Ignorance of spiritual law is no difference. Just because we are not aware of it does not affect the effect it has on us. We are creating through default. Ernest Holmes tells us, at all times, we are either drawing things to us or pushing them away. In the average individual, this process goes on without his knowing it. But ignorance of the law does not change its results. We live in mind, and it can return to us only what we think into it. No matter what, this is still Holmes, law will always obtain. If we are thinking of ourselves as poor and needy, then the mind, the law, has no choice but to return what we thought into it. It is done unto us as we believe. So if we walk around talking about illness all the time, talking about lack and limitation all the time, we're attracting more of that into our lives. That's how powerful we are. How many of us limit ourselves, misuse the law, miss the mark, sin, separation in nature. Those two little, by placing these two little words in front of what we say and do. I can't. I can't make it. I can't imagine where my car keys are. I can't imagine, I can't accomplish that dream. The I can't syndrome, and now we're all guilty of this, I know I am. I have to correct myself because I know when it comes out of my mouth, it just doesn't feel right anymore, but I can't make it, I can't. It's a syndrome. It's a very powerful one for keeping us feeling separate from God, from our good, and for holding us back all sorts of good things in our lives that absolutely we can. If you can find yourself in the I can't syndrome, I want to suggest to you that you do for yourself what this 4th grade teacher in a small town in Michigan did for her students one day, many years ago. She asked every student to get out a piece of paper and to put I can't on the top of the paper. And then she had them write as many I can't statements as they could think of. Things like, I can't kick the soccer ball that hard. I can't do long division, longer than 3 numbers. Well, I can't either, but still. Work with a 7th grader on their math homework. I stopped at 6th grade. I can't do 7th grade. But see, I've limited myself because even when I was doing 6th grade math, I would look it up. I would look at, they have these books for dummies, 6th grade math for dummies. You just pull that out, it gives you all the, that's what that word means, because everything's different. But we can if we believe we can. I can't eat only 1 cookie. How many children and adults have said that? But this is a child writing that. I can't eat 1 cookie. Even the teacher wrote her list. And then it became time for everyone to clean up, and she had them all go out into the yard, made a brief stop at the closet and got a shovel. And then they all walked out. The teacher dug a hole, a deep hole in the ground, and once the hole was dug, the teacher placed the shoebox. The children came up with their papers, folded, and put them in the shoebox. That's an important part. So one of them was holding the shoebox, and she went and got the shovel, and she dug a deep hole outside. And she then placed the box of I can'ts into the ground and covered it with dirt. At this point, the teacher announced, "Boys and girls, please join hands and bow your heads." And then she said, "Friends, we are gathered here today to honor the memory of I Can't. While he was with us on earth, he touched the lives of everyone, some more than others. His name, unfortunately, has been spoken in every public building, schools, city halls, the Capitol, and yes, even the White House. I Can't is survived by his brothers and sisters. I can, I will, and I'll do it right now. They are not as well known as their famous relative, but perhaps someday, with your help, they will make an ever bigger mark on the world. May I Can't rest in peace, and may everyone present pick up their lives and move forward in his absence. Amen." How about having an I Can't funeral like that for your I Can'ts? It's a great little exercise to do at home. To put it in its final resting place and make friends with its brothers and sisters. I can, I will, I'll do it right now. Jesus, the master teacher, said to the man he had just healed, "Go forth and sin no more." So now we know what he actually said was, go forth and release your belief that you are separate in nature from God, from God's law. So my friends, this morning I offer you the same counsel. Go forth and sin no more. And that way, you will most definitely hit the bullseye and weave in that spiritual tapestry your own unique gold thread, so that we can all move in that same rhythm of oneness together, be woven together as we truly are. So we let that be, and we know that is truth spoken, and so it is.
So it is.